Hi everybody, and welcome to my guide on Zyra. Now this is actually a part 2. It's a deeper look into her mechanics, some of her laning, some matchups you should really look out for, some tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way, and also going to go over some power spikes that you should definitely look to take advantage of. And I'm going to be putting timestamps down below, so you can, if you're just interested in one section, you can just kind of skip around. It is a little bit of a longer video, so I don't blame you guys at all for doing something like that. And as always, a couple of my previous videos, if any of you guys have an AOPGG that you want me to look over and maybe give you some tips, or if you even want to upload some kind of full gameplay, I can give you maybe some tips on what you're kind of doing wrong or what you might want to look to improve if you're looking to climb a little bit. It's not going to be the highest level analysis just because I am in low diamond, but I can definitely just help point out maybe some flaws in people with a little bit lower of an elo and maybe what you're doing to kind of self-sabotage yourself from climbing. So yeah, let's get right into the guide. Alright, and let's jump right into Zyra's laning phase. A few points I want to go over. First up, her gank assist. Now, just with her kit, with having a root that's AoE, you're able to root 2 people if you hit it correct, and also with the slow of your plants that are spawned from your E spell, Zyra has a great amount of gank assist, as well as having a good amount of damage and follow-up. So definitely make sure to let your jungler know that you are a really good lane to gank, especially if you're getting pushed in. Zyra can really punish those people overextending a bit. Alright, and next up is roaming. Now, I don't really recommend roaming on Zyra until past level, when you're at level 6. And also, probably shouldn't be roaming up through the river, as you can be really susceptible there. I'd recommend just kind of taking a little bit of a safer route. And just make sure to be at full health, full mana, and have your cooldowns up, and it can really catch a lot of mid laners off guard with the amount of damage you're able to do at that level 6 power spike. And she isn't the best roaming champion, but she can definitely make some plays if you have your ADC backing you and you don't really have anything to do at that point besides pushing vision into the enemy jungle. Alright, and some of the strengths Zyra has in lane. First up, she has a immense amount of poke damage. She has a great amount of all-in with her root and her ult, so she has a good amount of CC. And she can also, what I like taking her into are lanes that really struggle early and are hard to kind of get out of that laning phase. For example, champions like Kog'Maw, champions like Kai'Sa, champions like just really hard to lane with champions. Something like Vayne would also be another really good example where you can kind of carry them in the early game and have them carry you late game if they get out with a decent amount of CS. Alright, and some of the weaknesses as Zyra has in her laning phases, she's definitely very squishy. She's very feast or famine. She's really streaky, like you're either snowballing, you're getting a lead, or you're just kind of going to get sometimes even outscaled by something like a Lulu or a Soraka or a Janna that might provide a little bit more in team fights if you aren't landing those really big impactful ults on several people. So it is a very skill reliant champion. This isn't a Janna where you just sit back and just press your shield and and just try and heal people. It's if you're getting ganked, you're also a bit susceptible on Zyra, especially if you miss the root or if they just decide to flash over the root. You can be in a lot of trouble with your low base HP and armor and magic resist values. Alright, and next up is kill pressure. Zyra, of course, has I would say one of the highest kill pressure levels of any support outside of maybe something like a Blitzcrank with Ignite might be similar, but Zyra can do it from range, so she's very just has a amazing laning phase. I can't emphasize this enough. It's just a great pick for someone that's maybe a mid laner that gets auto-filled into support. She is a perfect pickup for that kind of player. Alright, and last up, with Zyra's laning, she has a great amount of wave management. First up, she's able to poke them off the lane, so it's harder for the opponents to CS and have wave management. Also, with her plant spawning just kind of passively around her, you're able to push the wave at any point that you want, and you're the one that triggers that with your using your abilities on your seeds. So really make sure to take advantage of the level disparities. If you're pushing for that level 2 all in, it's very easy to just kind of spam your Q on the wave and get your seeds spawned into the plants and doing damage to the wave. Alright, and that will wrap up Zyra's lane phase. Alright, and let's jump right into some of Zyra's power spikes that you can look to take advantage of in your games. First up, she has a great level 1 with her passive seed spawn. If you're able to, say your jungler is starting top and not bottom, and you're able to set up a large amount of plants, you're able to just push the lane and pretty much guarantee the first level 2. And look for the all-in with that advantage over your enemies. Also, Zyra has a great level 2, coincidentally, with her double AoE spells, a good amount of damage. Also, plants are getting spawned from your passive as well. So level 2 is also a really great point for Zyra, and as well as level 3 is a pretty big power spike where you're able to start spawning plants where you want and doing a lot more poke damage than a lot of other champions in that position. Alright, another huge power spike you should look out for, probably the most obvious one, is Zyra's level 6, just with her massive ult damage in AoE form. And this is just a great point, especially if you're hitting level 6 before your opponents. Just look for the all-in. It is very hard to lose an all-in with Zyra's plants, if you're spawning the plants, of course, on your ult. Alright, and another really strong power spike for Zyra is her when she acquires her spell pen items. This is because she has kind of poor scalings. She doesn't have the best scalings for an AP mage, but she has very high base damages on a lot of her abilities, and high damage on her plants that are just continuously shooting and hitting. So it is very important to, in my opinion, rush spell pen, because it can really just... It allows you to almost one-shot people starting at level 6 with one spell pen item. Another pretty big power spike for Zyra is when she acquires her Liandry's and Rylai's, just because her plants apply on hit effects, and they can really... they can solo out squishies pretty much in the late game. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but there's this famous clip of Double Lift just kind of getting soloed by 1 or 2 enraged Zyra plants in the late game, and he's getting both the Liandry's and Rylai's applied to him. Another really big power spike, of course, is that Void Staff. Just going over it again, it's similar to the spell pen items where you have high base damages, but kind of a little bit lower scalings. Another huge power spike for Zyra is her level 16. When she gets that final level of her ult, she is able to do so much damage with that she is... You can flat out just carry team fights. With Zyra's final power spike that I have listed here is her late game, because you are able to alter the... just kind of the pace of the team fight when you are using your abilities. First up, you're really susceptible when you don't have your root up and your Q up. You're kind of a detriment to your team, but when you have everything up, you're like a shotgun aimed at their head. You're able to just... You have one shot, and you're able to just impact the entire flow of the game. So you're either gonna fail hard, let your team down, or you're just gonna destroy and carry the game. So it's a really fun play style, and I encourage anyone that's kind of looking at AP mages in the bottom. Maybe they only play Zyra, or maybe they only play Brand, or maybe they only play Vel'Koz or something like that. Zyra is just a great pickup for any mage player in the support role. Alright, and let's jump into some specific matchups I just wanted to go over pretty quick. Just kind of the good, the bad, the ugly. First up, the good matchups that I really like taking Zyra into. First up is Bard. your plants can eat up a part of his Q charge, so you kind of have a little bit of counterplay there. You're able to bring a lot more damage and all-in potential than he is, just because you're level 6 burst, and he just has an invulnerability spell that takes a while to hit. So you're really able to burst people out with your ult before he can protect people with your ult. You just kind of do what he does, but a little bit better. He does have a roam advantage on you, and he can burst you down if you're near a wall and you take that stun, just because you're really susceptible. But Zyra has a very good laning phase against Bard. I'd say I win 80% of my matchups against Bard. Zyra currently has a 54% win rate going into Bard, so it is a good matchup in the lane. And he doesn't really have the best sustain. He's kind of more of a jack of all trades. He has a bit of damage, he has a bit of sustain, he has a bit of utility with his ult and his E ability. Alright, and another really good matchup that I like taking Zyra into is the Tahm Kench matchup, which is kind of a little bit weird, but you're able to get so much gold first up just by auto attack harassing him when he's going up to use his relic shield charges. Second, you're able to root him when he's trying to go and eat people. Third, he is usually trying to get on top of his allied champions, and you just have a massive amount of AoE damage, so it's perfect for people that like clumping up on their allies to protect them. Alright, and some of the tougher matchups according to NAOPGG, I'm kind of puzzled at the first one. Maybe it's just I'm having a different experience than most people, but Zyra has a 45% win rate into Sona, which was super low because Zyra is able to just have so much kill potential on Sona at any point in the game, really, unless she's just building straight magic resist constantly. But I guess just depending on the stats, it can be a pretty tough matchup, I guess, if she's able to sustain people through your burst in the later points of the game. But I guess watch out for the Sona matchup with that 45% win rate that Zyra has into her. Another tougher matchup is Sion with that 46% win rate. He's able to kick around the minions and the plants and do a good amount of poke damage. He's able to kind of outlive your mana bar if you don't really have anything like mana biscuits and you're spamming your abilities on him, so you're not really able to harass him out of lane that hard, and he's able to do a huge amount of damage with the Comet E. And yeah, that can be a pretty tough matchup. Is also another hard engage champion that just goes right through your roots, so you need to be careful about that and just not getting destroyed by his all-in potential. Yeah, so look out for Sion and Sona, apparently. If you have any matchups you really like taking Zyra in, you're just always winning those matchups, or tough ones that you want some advice on, maybe just make sure to comment down below, and I will take a look at those. Alright, let's jump into some tips and tricks that I've learned climbing with Zyra throughout several ranks: bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and now low diamond, and they all seem to kind of stay true and are still effective in the elo that I'm playing. First up is you have to get very used to Zyra's combo and rolling your fingers as quickly as you confirm that E to do all of your damage at once before they flash out, because she has such a high amount of damage that she's able to sometimes kill people before they're able to react. And kill them in the root. So just get really used to throwing out all of your combo as quickly as possible. So another trick that I learned in laning phase is you don't always have to take that level E, or the skill, your root at level 2 if they aren't giving you an all-in at the level 2 advantage. You can look to level up your W second and just do a little bit more, we'll do a lot more poke on them in lane and kind of bully them from an even earlier level point as opposed to the level 3. Another really important tip, I put this in all caps, is the vision advantage. That throwing your abilities from Fog of War and on champions that are unsuspecting is just so important to what Zyra does. You should always be hiding behind walls with a ward and looking for a huge just combo on people that aren't aware, because she does have a very telegraphed burst combo with her E coming in very slowly, and the reticule and kind of landing zone on where you're throwing your Q, and then the R is obviously a huge warning sign of, hey, get the fuck out of here before you you just get a one shot. So vision advantage is very important. You should be playing it almost to the point of like something like a Zoe, where you're just kind of hiding behind walls with the warding of where you're looking for the picks, and then just throwing things from Fog of War on people, just because it's can be a little bit harder the higher elo you go to land those roots that are very slow moving. All right, and next up, the build diversity is very important on Zyra. You shouldn't be doing a cookie cutter build at all points. She does have a pretty streamlined path with the Rylai's, Leandries, and Morellos, and Void Staff kind of lineup, but you should really be looking if there's a team with a lot of healing, something like a Soraka or a Vladimir. You should be upgrading the Morellos as soon as possible, or if they don't really have any healing and you're not really snowballing and you don't want that early second spell pen item, sometimes it might be better to go with the tank shred route of just going straight into Leandries. So really just bring some critical thinking into your build path. Don't just kind of autopilot your build, because it can really have a big effect, because you're able to do so much damage that your output can be really dependent on your build. You can really cripple, or you can really make yourself a lot stronger through your build. So just make sure you're building at the correct points. All right, and next up, one of the biggest tips I can give you is early spell pen. I know it might feel funny to have tier 2 boots before you have anything more than an amplifying tome, but she just scales so well with spell pen that you really need to be building that early spell pen, and she's really able to impact team fights very, very hard. So just make sure that you're getting that early spell pen on Zyra. Alright, another tip, kind of similar to the Omega Squadron Vhagar, which is a little bit harder to react to the W, is a little quieter on that Vhagar skin. The Haunted Zyra is better because it is almost the same color as the grass that surrounds, and it's a little bit harder to see. It's not like a crazy advantage over like the Wildfire one with red roots, but we will take any kind of advantage we can take with that slow moving E route on Zyra. So I always play Haunted Zyra, and maybe if I'm like 20 games straight of Zyra, I might just be like, hey, I'm just gonna mix it up and do like SKT Zyra or something. But Haunted Zyra is definitely, if you're just looking to climb and have a little bit of an advantage, I would definitely recommend doing the Haunted Zyra. And of course, that's like a teal kind of bluey skin, so it's not the worst looking skin. And also, another tip that I want to give you guys is Zyra has such an immense amount of turnaround potential with her all-in combos. So always look when your kind of team is running away and there's a 5v5 potential. If the squishies are out front and chasing very hard, just look to do that turnaround damage and just absolutely wreck some unsuspecting people. Alright, and the biggest tip and way you can win games with Zyra is she is able to win most of her lanes. So you really want to take advantage of her lane bully status and take as many towers as you can. Take that first tier 1 bottom tower as quickly as possible, then be like, hey, let's rotate top and get our top laner out of a poor matchup or whatever the case may be, and to keep taking towers, keep getting gold, and keep acquiring that lead, and really just kind of snowball them out of the game. Zyra is just a great pick for doing this and bullying people. So yeah, that will wrap up the tips and tricks for Zyra. If you have any, I'd love to hear them, as she is one of my favorite champions to play. Just comment down below what you've kind of do that's a little bit different, and that other people can take advantage of as well. Alright, and that will wrap up the tips and tricks for Zyra. Alright, and that will wrap up my guide for Zyra. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for all the support recently. I think we just ticked over 300 subscribers recently, which is freaking awesome. I didn't think it was going to go that quickly. If you have any feedback or critique, make sure to leave it in the comments. I'm always really open to seeing what maybe isn't working, or if the slides are too long or too short, or the audio levels are too high or too low. Just let me know, and I will definitely get on that. All right, and if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, guys, take it easy.